Hi everybody, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, this is a record. This is a record nobody wants to see, but 11 crew members were arrested in one investigation. The largest arrest of crew members in the history of cruising. So in a recent effort that was going on by Homeland Security, Air Marshal Services, local enforcement, the TSA, federal agencies, you name it, they were all involved in this investigation, and they have arrested 11 crew members from the port of Galveston or Fort Lauderdale in Florida is where they pulled them off the ships and arrested them. Now, one person was actually arrested and charged because they had found very incriminating evidence of exploitation of minors, if you know what I mean. I'm not allowed to say the exploitation of children all too close together because the YouTube algorithm flags that as warning content, but I'm trying to inform everybody this is the kind of stuff that they were going after and finding. And we've heard stories of this in the past. All last year, I covered many crew members being arrested and that in different ships on these charges. Well, one of the 11 was arrested and detained, while 10 others were immediately deported from the United States and unable to travel back to the United States ever again or work on cruise ships, which is probably a really, really good thing. But it just goes to show there's a big crackdown right now out there, and I'm glad to see it for one. As I'm somebody who's on cruise ships all the time, and I love seeing families and their children out enjoying it. My two grandkids just went on their first cruise ever and had a great time on a Royal Caribbean Oasis class ship. So yeah, crack down on this, get them off the ships as fast as possible. But imagine 11 in one investigation alone, 11 crew members on cruise ships. None of the ships were mentioned, none of the cruise lines were mentioned. They just mentioned the two ports of call where the arrests were made. Now, this has sparked a pretty big debate that's been going on, and one Reddit user over on Royal Caribbean who has recently seen the uptick in stories about people behaving badly on cruise ships. The 18-year-old on the Jewel of the Seas who, with others, beat somebody because of some incident in an elevator. The 24 people who were arrested in Galveston when they were getting off the cruise ship because who knows why, but 24 people on two, those 24 people are now on the banned for life list. Virgin Cruise Line had somebody choke somebody last year in a bar and is now on the no cruise list and everything. And they were wondering, saying, okay, with this situation that's been going on and the uptick in these violent situations, I kind of feel a little nervous bringing my family on some of these cruise ships. Carnival's supposed to be the fun cruise ship, and then you see 24 people beating on two people. That doesn't sound family friendly to me, even though this had it in the cruise terminal itself. But we're seeing the rise in incidents, and they're saying, what is the cruise lines doing to share these people's information to everybody? So, for instance, these 24 people, they may tell Carnival, Carnival said, okay, you can no longer sail on Carnival. Now, the odds are pretty good that Carnival will also say they're not allowed to sail on Princess. They're not allowed to sail on P&O. They're not allowed to sail on Cosca. They're not allowed to sail on Holland America because they're all under the Carnival brand. They will share that information amongst themselves quite often, is the norm, especially for violent behavior. We're not talking about people who, I don't know, get a little hammered and have to be escorted back to their room. They're not causing any violence or anything. They're just too drunk to walk. We're not talking about people like that. We're not talking about people who are chair hogs. We're talking about people doing violent incidences or assault or something along those lines on cruise ships, right? Those are the informations that we really want to be shared amongst everybody. And I, for one, am also thinking, you know what? The cruise lines all need to do better on this. Now, I don't know the legal ramifications. I'm not a lawyer. Is there a collusion thing in there? Is there something in there? But cruise lines have the right to refuse service to anybody. Airlines have the right to refuse service to anybody. It's their own private business, right? They're allowed to do what they want. So, in a spirit of cooperation and making the waters safer and the cruise industry safer for everybody, why do the cruise lines not share the information even to the competitor cruise lines? Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian, MSC, you name it, they should all be sharing the information to each other. Hey, look, we just had 24 people in a possible felony charges situation, violent situation, or we had this 18-year-old who's now been charged and he beat a person in an elevator at 18 for no probable cause. This kind of thing, that should be shared to the other cruise lines. And if the cruise lines want to ban the person at that point, that's fine. At least they've been informed, right? Why is there no sharing of these names across the industry? As of right now, there's no database between the cruise lines saying, you know what, this person's a violent offender, this person was a violent offender. Right now, the only hope you have of other cruise lines finding out about these people are if they, actually commit an actual felony, the police charge them, and they go to court and are found guilty or plead guilty. Then it goes on their record, and that will show up on their passport, their driver's license, etc., whenever they try and go through Homeland Security or border crossing of some kind. So that's really the only other way that cruise lines can find this stuff out. But by then they're at the cruise port. They're at the terminal. And I don't know how many people are turned away too often because of this. So yeah, I'm kind of calling out the cruise lines in this situation. They do billions of dollars a year in trying to, entice passengers onto their cruise ships, to offer better food, to better items, new and fancier things on their ships. Maybe spend, I don't know, a couple $1,000 and have a person in each of your cruise lines that will share this information with each other. So there's a database of people we definitely don't want on cruise ships. People who start fights, people who, are assaulting others, men assaulting women, women assaulting men, women assaulting women. You name it. Whatever the violent offense is, we don't want them on the cruise ships. And so cruise lines, I'm calling you out right now. I'm hoping that you take these incidents as seriously as everybody else is while we're watching this happen. We want to be as safe as possible on those cruise ships, and you sharing that information about these people, their violent actions, can only make your ships safer. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you guys think? Do you think that should be a no-brainer? It should happen? Or is there a possibility of somebody saying, hey, you can't share my private information with somebody else? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. But boy, I would sure like to see this list implemented for all cruise lines right across the globe. That would be terrific. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.